ambition. That's what made the 20s roar. And providing a beautiful counterpoint to the roaring of the 20s was jazz. It was the age of the flapper, of John Hell Jr., of Maxfield Parrish paintings. It was the era of wonderful, wonderful nonsense. And jazz, well, it was the jazz age. Quite properly, it's remembered as that. Tonight, the Biscayne Jazz Band, under the direction of Maestro Tommy Justice, will take us down some paths exploring the ways that jazz has come. Way back about 1924, the original Wolverines, the Wolverines band that featured Bix Beiderbecke, got together in a studio in Richmond, Indiana, in the month of March. They recorded a whole raft of jazz tunes. That, as you'll recall, was one of the top jazz bands of the day. Principal players, every one. Oh, yeah. And as the philosopher said, anybody doesn't like that just doesn't like fried chicken. Well, these fine jazz players of today are going to salute those jazz players of 1924. Even though the Wolverines didn't play Wolverine blues, these fellas do. Ladies and gentlemen, the Wolverine Blues with the Biscayne Jazz Band. My good fellow, won't you come join me? Yes, indeed. What a pleasure to share a camera and a microphone with you, Tom. Have a seat. Make yourself at home. Be comfortable. Want to congratulate you on this marvelous group that you've assembled for this evening's festivities.
I found them at the expressway, and I thought I'd bring them in. They look so lonesome. We're having fun.
We'll get you to tell us about some of the guys, but
right.
Tell us a little bit about some music, first of all. Now, we think of the blues as being something mournful, usually, something melancholy, don't we, Tom?
Ordinarily, yes. It has that ring to it.
That's not always the case, however.
Oh, no.
Now, didn't we hear some blues licks in Wolverine, for instance?
Oh, yes, a few. Yes.
Now, tell me, do you fellas do strictly head arrangements, everybody on his own, or what? What happens with a group like this? This symphoniette you have here.
It's a combination of things. It's a lot of head things that guys have learned through the years, stolen a few little gags from some of the guys, little riffs, as we used to call them. And we put it together, and a lot of it is hopefully not to use cliches. You know, that's a no-no. But we try to do something that we feel at the moment. It's very instantaneous, as you know.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It sure works in the case of this remarkable group.
Thank you.
And this group includes, well, now, let's just look behind. I'll tell you what, I've got a new hero in your clarinet player. You know, I'm a closet clarinetist, and I found a new idol over there.
Sure, Larry.
Larry Wilson.
He's beautiful, isn't
he? Now, Larry has been with Andy Bartha for some time, I believe.
Yes, he has, yes.
And the kid on piano.
Bobby Rosen?
Yeah.
Oh, well, of course, he's one of our dear loves and charter members, I guess, from 30-some years ago, so...
Don't we have great players in this part of the country, Tom?
Gorgeous players.
We do.
Really do.
Now, you yourself were with Jack Teagarden as far back as 1949, as I recall. Rather, 39.
39 would be closer. Yeah, that's
You know, my first recollection of you, a band leader from Akron, Ohio, named Chick Hurst, said, when you get to Miami, you've got to hear Tommy Justice.
Come on,
I said, I'm already
Chick.
listening to him.
Shades of Akron, Ohio. Isn't that marvelous?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Now, the man who does not swallow the slide there, Hank Breedenberg.
Oh,
yeah.
Dr. Breedenberg it is.
Is
oh,
it?
Doctor of English. Oh, yes. He condescended to play with a jazz band, you know.
That was an apt condescension.
Yes, the word is now allowable. I mean, it's permissible.
Splendid, splendid. He is beautiful. Tell us about the other gentlemen of the ensemble.
Oh, Fran Hill on bass.
Yes.
Played with them all. I mean, you could, I don't know where to start,
he's a good, legit contrabassist.
Well, he is actually basically that, yes.
He's a symphony man.
Yes, he is.
He's also a good jazz man.
Yes, you know, they mix quite well.
Why shouldn't they?
Yes.
If it weren't for Debussy, where would some of our jazz be?
That's true.
All right, now we have a drummer who's got a metronome in his heart.
Yes, he has.
And a lot of spirit in addition.
Al Horowitz, isn't he gorgeous?
He is. Now, something that we haven't told our friends about yet is that we have a couple of special guest stars on the show tonight.
We must not forget them.
Well, we'll save them as a surprise. Do you have something whipped up for us now that your chaps are going to...
Little Beale Street Blues, speaking of the blues.
Yeah, while you make your way back over there,
all right.
Shall I set the thing up?
Yes, Don, will you please? Thank you.
My pleasure, lad. My pleasure. Mr. Handy had a few things to say about if only Beale Street could talk. Well, this is just about the way Beale Street would sound in dear old Memphis 10. Tom Justice. Got another kind of jazz here, ladies and gentlemen. Little vocal rendition, if you please. This is something by Clarence Williams that was done by, among others, Louis Armstrong many years ago. And our special guest tonight, one of them, Mr. Harry Epp, is here to render that little anthem, Cake Walkin' Babies. Harry Epp.
Cakewalkers make jumps, cakewalkers make go. Here's a little story about a couple I know. High flying pair, you ought to be there. When they hear that jazz music, no one can compare. Oh, here they come. Oh, ain't they demonstrating how it's done? Ain't they syncopating, talk at the time? They're chic sitting round, they're picking them up and they're laying them down. Oh, dancing fools, oh, ain't they demonstrating? They're a class of their own. Now the only way to win is to cheat 'em. You may tie 'em, but you're never gonna beat 'em. Oh, strut your stuff, strut your stuff. Cake-walking babies from home.
Mr. Harry Epp, very good indeed. Thank you, Harry. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, prominent in the history of jazz is the figure of the girl singer. We've had our Mildred Baileys, we've had our Lee Wileys, we've had our Ella Fitzgeralds. I heard a band leader say this about this young lady one time. I guess everybody who ever met Laurie Lee is a little bit in love with her. Well, that's what a girl singer is all about. Ladies and gentlemen, a young lady I had the pleasure of presenting on the air a long time ago, and what a thrill it is to present her again to you now. One of my favorites, the great jazz singer, Miss Laurie Lee, with the Biscayne Jazz Band.
In old Savannah, I said Savannah, the weather there is nice and warm. there's one thing I don't understand. They've got a gal there, a pretty gal there, who's colder than an Arctic storm. She's got a heart just like a stone. Even Iceman leave her alone. They call her hard-hearted Hannah, vamp of Savannah, the meanest gal in town. Her liver is tough, but Hannah's heart is tougher. She's a gal that loves to see men suffer. Please 'em and thrill 'em, torture and kill 'em is her delight, they say. Well, I saw her at the seashore with a great big pan. There was Hannah pouring water on a drowning man. Hard-hearted Hannah, vamp of Savannah, G.A. You ought to see her, you ought to see her. Outside she's just as smooth as silk, but underneath she's a hard as nails. A gal who loves to torture males. And when she's nasty, ooh, when she's nasty, she's about as sweet as sour milk. Nothing she likes better than feeding poison food to a man. They call her hard-hearted Hannah, vamp of Savannah, the meanest gal in town. Well, you can talk about your cold, refrigerated mama. Brother, she's a polar bear's pajamas. Tease 'em and thrill 'em, torture then kill 'em is her delight, they say. Well, now an evening spent with Hannah sitting on your knee is like strolling through Alaska in your BVD. Hard-hearted Hannah, vamp of Savannah, G.A. Savannah, G.A.
It's all right, sweetie. You can just come right over this way. That's all right. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Bye.
Love you.
Love you. I told you, every man who ever met her's a little bit in love with her. That's what a girl singer's all about, ladies and gentlemen. She's just the best. Here's an example of one of those innocuous pop tunes that somehow became a jazz standard. And, well, it should have. The Biscayne Jazz Band with Sunday. We were talking about the paths that jazz has taken, and here's an instance in which jazz ran into something that used to be called hillbilly music, and maybe even tent show music. Did you ever see, for instance, Silas Green from New Orleans and all those other tent shows? Well, here's the kind of thing that you would hear. You would hear Alabama Jubilee. It would be equally at home in a tent and a hillbilly musical presentation, or as a jazz tune, bringing back our two special guest stars, Miss Laurie Lee and Mr. Harry Epp, celebrated American tenor and celebrated American coloratura. Ladies and gentlemen, with the gentlemen of the ensemble, Alabama Jubilee. How about those carry-ons on?
You ought to see Deacon Jones when he rattles his bones. Oh, passing round, fooling round like a clown. And your mama who's past 83, shouting out, fool of pepper, watch your step, watch your step. One-legged Joe dancing round on his toe, throws away his crutch and hollers, hey, let her go, oh, honey. Hail, hail, the gang's all here for the Alabama Jubilee. You ought to see Deacon Jones when he rattles those bones. Oh, passing round, fooling round like a clown. And to mama who's past 83, shouting out, fool of pepper, watch your step, watch your step. One-legged Joe dancing round on his toe, throws away his crutch and hollers, hey, let her go, oh, honey. Hail, hail, the gang's all here for the Alabama Juba, Alabama Juba, Alabama Juba.
Speaking for some of that jazz and all its practitioners, I remain your obedient servant, Don Barber. Thank you for your very kind attention, and now I'm going to my room. Take me home, gentlemen.
Watch Herbie Mann at Snowbird Friday night at 1 o'clock. Now stay tuned for a discussion of toxic waste on the McNeil-Lehrer Report, coming up next on Channel 2.
1937. The country is alive with the sounds of the big band, headed by Benny